Every so often, about once a decade, it feels like Apple stops everything to release a new version of a product that genuinely feels special. And after years of waiting for that moment to come to the iPhone, it's finally time again. Because somehow it's already been over 7 years since the last major rethink of what the iPhone could be, back in 2017 with the iPhone X, when Apple changed every single part of this phone in a single update. See, the iPhone X was Apple's vision for the next 10 years of iPhone, following the first 10 years of the product from 2007 to 2017. But since then, well, it feels like the updates have just been a lot smaller. While in 2020 we did get a new look for the iPhone with Apple squaring off the edges, it still just kind of looked like the same notch device that Apple had unveiled about 3 years earlier. And in 2023, the iPhone 15 made the edges more rounded, but it was just an iPhone 12 that felt a little bit different when you held it. So what is Apple doing for the next iPhone? Well, I'm super excited to tell you that after all this time, Apple is planning one of these big updates again, and I want to show it to you now. Introducing the iPhone 17 Air, Apple's newest ultra-premium model that is their latest vision for what a mobile phone can be, where they are once again changing the design, the display, the cameras, and so much more about this phone in a bigger way than they've done in the past 8 years, and I could not be more excited. So let me show you why. Okay, first I want to give you a closer look at the entirely new design, as Apple has had one goal for this phone above everything else, and that is to apparently make it as thin as possible. Specifically, one rumor in particular says that the iPhone 17 Air will be as thin as the iPhone 6, which I had not touched in a while, and is actually extremely impressive that Apple already did this 10 years ago. Honestly, just holding the iPhone 6 in your hand, this form factor still feels insane today. The challenge for Apple would be to build in all the modern amenities and features of the current iPhone and slim it down into something that is like a third to 50% thinner than the current model, which would be really hard. So how exactly is Apple gonna do it? Well, apparently it's starting with Apple introducing a new combination material to make the chassis out of, with sources saying it is going to be a combo titanium aluminum design. Essentially, it sounds like Apple is combining the strength and the durability of titanium from their Pro models with the lightweight qualities of aluminum from their cheaper units. Basically, combining the two to keep the premium feel of the iPhone while also making it way lighter weight. Listen, I know this looks crazy, but this is what every credible source is reporting. Not to mention that Apple is clearly becoming interested in making their devices as thin as possible again. Apple touted the M4 iPad Pro not only as the thinnest iPad ever, but as the thinnest Apple product ever made. And in all the marketing for the newest Apple Watch Series 10, they've also been promoting how they were able to shave down the thickness. With that in mind, it makes perfect sense that Apple now wants to make the iPhone as thin as possible too. Basically, from every angle, the iPhone 17 is going to look better, especially when it's sitting on my brand new desk setup that I rebuilt from the ground up thanks to Vernal that sponsored today's video. If there was such a thing as the Apple desk, I feel like this is as close as you're going to get. And I was able to do the entire setup process from no desk to an entire desk in under 30 minutes. And during assembly, you really get a sense for how high quality and well built everything is. From the beautiful bamboo top that I selected, from the legs that go up a crazy height while still remaining incredibly stable. I mean, I'm 6'2", so it has always been a struggle to find a desk that is actually comfortable for my height. This has versatility for people ranging from 4'9" all the way up to 6'7". The height controller supports 4 different memory positions, and it raises and lowers faster than any other standing desk I've ever used. I don't know how they've done this. Plus, it has an insane weight rating, up to 350 pounds, which is more than 2 of myself on here, or way more than you would ever need for all the equipment you're gonna load up with. And Vernal is so confident in their product that there is a 15-year warranty. Okay, but let me show you my favorite part about this desk. It's the setup-in-one accessories system, which they have developed to be a modular way to adjust your desk and customize it at any time. For example, they sent me this really cool desk shelf extender that you can put on the left or right side of your workstation. There's also the keyboard tray that I have underneath, and even a shelf to prop up everything on top of the desk. desk. And that's just a taste of the 8 different setup-in-one accessories that have been made to fit different workflows so that you can build the perfect space. Plus, the wood of the cabinet and desktops are matched to create a unified and aesthetic workspace. Vernal has a great Black Friday sale happening right now with 50% off site-wide. Plus, when you use my link down below in the description, you can add an extra 6% off on top of that. It's absolutely a ridiculous value for what you are getting with this desk, and I just love it. Okay, thanks to Vernal for sponsoring this one. Now let's see what else is changing with the iPhone 17. Now, so far, we've only taken a look at the general aesthetic of the iPhone 17 Air, but keep in mind, Apple is also changing every other part of this phone too. It's not just the phone is thinner, everything else is the same. Like, the screen on here is going to be a new size that Apple has never done before. We're hearing it's going to be a roughly 6.6-inch display, which would sit right in between Apple's largest Pro Max iPhone and smallest regular Pro phone. Around the edges, the bezel should be razor thin, and this is going to be the top quality display that Apple makes. It is OLED technology with 120 Hz ProMotion refresh rate. Apple's not stopping there though. According to other rumors, Apple is improving the anti-reflective coating on the screen, so if you use it in a really bright outdoor environment, it'll be way easier to look at your phone. And for durability, Apple is also improving the scratch resistance, which would be huge for me, as I don't know why, but my iPhone screens always get destroyed in like a month of having them. Now, rounding out the display at the very top, Apple is once again going to be using Dynamic Island. And while in our renders we show it being the same size as it is currently, a few rumors are suggesting that it actually gets smaller. As in 2025, Apple could potentially put the Face ID scanner under the display, so you would just be left with the single hole cutout for the selfie camera, which to me makes a ton of sense because the front-facing camera is getting its biggest upgrade ever. Apple is doubling the megapixel count from 12 to 24 megapixels on the 17 Air, so front-facing photos and videos are going to look insane. But that's not the only insane camera change that Apple is making. There's actually a way more dramatic one on the back that you might have already noticed. Yeah, according to multiple sources, the iPhone 17 Air is just going to have one single camera on the back, even though it will be situated as Apple's most premium model. See, I think this is one of the points where you start to see the limitations of how thin you can make a phone for what you want to include. Plus, to be fair, this single camera on the iPhone 17 Air is still going to be the best single camera Apple has ever put on a phone, a wide-angle lens with a 48 megapixel sensor, and with that you'll be getting the 2x telephoto sensor crop-in that is available on all iPhone 16s. Interestingly though, we don't exactly know where Apple is going to put the camera system. Like, in all of our renders, we showcase it up in the back of the phone at the very top left-hand corner, just because that has been the default placement for all of Apple's cameras on the iPhone since the original iPhone in 2007. But according to one source, Apple's also testing a new top center position where the camera would be moved for the first time on the iPhone, which could make sense for a redesign as big as this one. Ultimately though, it's just too early, and we'll have more details on the camera in the coming months. So make sure you hit the subscribe button in case you haven't already. Although, let me just take a step back for a second to clarify that the iPhone 17 Air is only one of 4 new iPhone 17 models that Apple is releasing in 2025. They're not eliminating the rest of the lineup, they're just replacing one model with the 17 Air. Per usual, Apple's going to be releasing a lower-end iPhone 17 model that starts at around $800, as well as more premium Pro and Pro Max models that are a bit larger. There's only one iPhone model going away in 2025, and that is the plus-sized regular model. Apple has just not really seen great success with this unit. It's the 6.7-inch one, priced at about $900. Over the years, the plus-sized iPhone hasn't been a great seller for Apple, only accounting in total for about 5 to 10% of iPhone sales annually. So Apple's been on the search for a new type of 4th iPhone model that would be more compelling. And I have to say, looking at the iPhone 17 Air in total, I think they are going to do it. But here's the most interesting thing about the iPhone 17 Air to me. It's not just the exterior that is getting a radical redesign, it's also pretty much everything on the inside of the phone too. Because we're hearing that the iPhone 17 Air is going to be Apple's first ever phone to not only include an all-new Apple-designed 5G chip, which would allow them to own that part of the tech stack, in addition to other components of the iPhone like the A19 chip. On top of that, the iPhone 17 Air may also include Apple's first ever Wi-Fi chip. If you're wondering why this is such a big deal, it's because Apple's ultimate goal for the iPhone is to own as many different parts as they possibly can. They started with the chips, but now they're they're expanding to things like 5G and Wi-Fi. Why does that matter though? It matters because when Apple has full customization over a component, they can design their hardware in new ways without having to rely on the constraints of somebody else's technology. I mean, we've seen this with Apple Silicon. The Macs are night and day better with their own silicon compared to when they relied on somebody else's. The designs of Macs were just bigger and beefier due to these constraints. In isolation, all these things are pretty small, but combine them together and they will allow for a design like this that seems kind of impossible to do with the iPhone 17 Air. Next, the iPhone 17 Air, of course, will also support Apple Intelligence. As with the A19 chip, Apple will have even more features built into this phone by the time it releases, or not. We don't actually know. The current rollout of Apple Intelligence is quite strange, and the features are coming every couple of months with no committed release dates for a lot of them, but surely by the time the iPhone 17 Air comes out in September, it will be better for AI. I hope, I think. Still, all that being said, I think the 17 Air is going to be a remarkable phone, and hearing that Apple is finally going to do something genuinely innovative again has me mad excited. That being said, the iPhone 17 Air is going to have one pretty big catch. See, remember 7 years ago when Apple announced the iPhone X, when they showed off all of these new technologies that they packaged into one singular device? At the very end of that presentation, as cool as the iPhone X was, they asked for one thing in return, and that was the most money they had ever asked for an iPhone to date. While previous flagship iPhones started around $700, the iPhone X was announced with a price tag of just about $1,000. And I remember the reaction. Like, that was a crazy number at the time. Now, Apple's bet paid off, and the iPhone has stayed for the premium model starting at $1,000 every single year since then. With the iPhone 17 Air, I would bet this channel on the fact that Apple sees it as another opportunity to raise the bar a little bit higher. And while the current iPhone 16 Pro Max starts at about $1,200, sources are saying that the 17 Air is going to start at even more than that. And I would bet we see a price tag of at minimum $1,300 for this phone. Although realistically, I would not be shocked if we saw a $1,500 price tag, just because Apple already proved once that people were willing to pay $1,000 to have the best, coolest iPhone. I mean, come on, would you be shocked if they did the same thing with the Air? Either way, I am absolutely fascinated by this phone, and I have not been this excited for an iPhone upgrade cycle in probably 8 years since the iPhone 10. So make sure you hit that subscribe button in case you haven't already, because we've got so many more videos on the 17 coming out. We're gonna be covering every rumor and leak that we hear, and I could not wait. Drop a like if you enjoyed this video. I've been Sam. I hope you are doing well, and I will see you in the next one.